Everyone. Unfortunately, we've been losing a lot of people in the Elvis world lately. This is to be expected because a lot of them are up there in age. It's still very sad. The other day we just lost another person. I will mention him later on in my video, but because of this, I just wanted to make a video and share some of my autographs of some of the people that I've met over the years that knew Elvis and worked with Elvis, and even fans who were close to him and got to hang out with him and have special experiences with him. These memories and conversations and experiences I have are very, very important and special to me because I was never able to meet Elvis or see him live or get an autograph from him because I was born after he died. So I just wanted to share some of those experiences with you guys and some of my autographs. Hopefully this is not a long video and it doesn't bore you too much, but here we go. First I want to show one of my Elvis walls to you because on there is a photo of Scotty Moore that I got from him and he signed for me. I only was able to meet Scotty one time, unfortunately, but I'm glad that I did get to meet him that one time and he autographed this great photo for me. And it's so special to me that I included it on one of my Elvis walls, as you can see. And this is my homemade book that I made that has a lot of my autograph photos in it. First one is DJ Fontana. Most of you Elvis fans know who DJ is. He was Elvis's original drummer. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was a great guy. I met him many times and had many great conversations with him. And he was so humble and nice and always took time to talk to you and sign stuff and take a picture with you if you wanted to. And as I said, I've met him many times. This is another photo of him that he signed for me. These are the Jordanaires. The Jordanaires were Elvis's backup group in the 50s and 60s. Most of them are gone, but Ray Walker is still around. I met him quite a few times as well. He's a great guy. This picture is pretty cool because I got it at a show that Ronnie McDowell was doing, and all of these people were backing him up in the show, so I got to meet them as well again. Again, all the Jordanaires, and DJ once again. And Millie Kirkham, who was a backup singer for Elvis in the early days. She can be heard in Blue Christmas doing the high backup voice in the background. And then Ronnie McDowell is a famous country music star, and he also did the voice of Elvis in movies like Elvis with Kurt Russell and Elvis and Me. And he is a great guy as well. Always nice and humble and takes time to take pictures with you and talk to you. Meeting this guy was one of the thrills in my life because he's very legendary. James Burton was Elvis's guitarist in the 70s, and he is also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's very legendary. This was the first time I ever met him, and I got to take this great photo with him, and I love this photo. And last year I was lucky enough to get him to sign it for me. So as soon as I'm able to get a frame for it, it is going on my wall. And I've been able to meet James quite a few times. This is one of the photos I got signed by him. And yet another one. This one is pretty awesome. And this is Ronnie Tutt. He was one of the original members of TCB band. He was Elvis's drummer. These guys are members of the Stamps Quartet and the Imperials, who backed Elvis up in the late 60s and early 70s and late 70s in his concerts, and also sang backup in a lot of his gospel records and other records as well. J.D. Sumner has been gone for quite a few years. I never got to meet him. However, I have met all of these guys: Bill Bays, Donnie Sumner, Ed Hill, the Imperials. Joe Mascao is no longer with us. He died a few years ago. I have met him, but he didn't sign this one for me. Terry Blackwood, and Jim Murray. This guy is Joe Gershow. He was Elvis's orchestra leader, and as you can see, he was quite a character. And it was always fun to meet Joe and talk to him. He actually had a crush on my friend Judy, and whenever we saw him, he would always make comments to her, really funny comments. So I miss seeing Joe around. He's no longer with us either, sadly. And most of you will know who this is, Joe Esposito. Joe Esposito was one of the members of the Memphis Mafia. He was basically Elvis's right-hand man. And Joe died a couple of years ago as well. I met Joe many times, have many books and photos and stuff autographed by him. He was always really nice too. This is Sonny West. I know a lot of people do not care for Sonny because of the book that him and Red and Dave Hebler wrote about Elvis in '76. And I understand that, but I also know that whenever I met Sonny, he was always very nice and gracious, and he always took time to talk to me and was very kind. He signed anything I wanted him to sign. He would take pictures with me. And I don't hold any animosity towards Sonny because I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, so who am I to say anything about what happened between him and Elvis? I do, however, know that he loved Elvis until the day he died, which was just last year, or a couple of years ago. And now him and Red West are both gone. Sadly, I was never able to meet Red. This is George Klein. A lot of you know who George Klein is too. He was friends with Elvis in high school. And this is a picture of George Klein's wedding. Elvis was best man at his wedding. He's also a famous DJ, and you can hear him on Elvis radio a lot. I hear he's not doing so well right now, so hopefully everybody will pray for him that he gets well. This is his ex-wife. She's no longer with us, but I did meet her. She was really nice. And then George signed it for me. This is one of Elvis's many girlfriends, Barbara Hearn. She was a sweetheart, and it was a pleasure to meet her. She wrote this nice message to me. And this is a fantastic picture of her and Elvis. Another girlfriend of Elvis's, Anita Wood. It also was a pleasure to meet her. She's such a nice Southern lady, very down to earth. And I had such a great conversation with her about Elvis when I met her, so it was a pleasure to meet her. Yet another girlfriend of Elvis's. He had a lot of girlfriends, but let's face it, folks, he was Elvis, so it's to be expected. But this is June Wanico. She's very nice too. And she has a great book about her and Elvis. And this is Jimmy Velvet. Jimmy Velvet was a recording artist in the 50s. He wasn't really successful at it, but he was, and he was very good friends with Elvis. And then later on, he had the biggest collection of Elvis memorabilia. So this is a great picture of him and Elvis. And then there are the people that were in movies with Elvis. This is Darlene Tompkins. She was in Blue Hawaii. I love this photo. I was so thrilled to meet this lady because my favorite Elvis movie is Follow That Dream, and she was Elvis's leading lady in the movie, Anne Helm. And then I also got to meet the twins that were in that movie. I've met them a couple times, and it's always really awesome to meet them because, like I said, Follow That Dream is my very favorite Elvis movie. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's a great movie. Very funny. This is Jennifer Holden. She was in a couple of key scenes in Jailhouse Rock, as you can see. And then Larry Del Mason, who was in Fun in Acapulco with Elvis when he was a little boy. This is Gary Lockwood. He was in 2 Elvis movies. He was in It Happened at the World's Fair and Wild in the Country. He also was in a lot of TV shows like Star Trek. And this lady is so awesome. I've met her a couple times. Her name is Marlon Mason, and she was in The Trouble with Girls with Elvis. And then Cynthia Pepper, who was in Kissing Cousins. She's always in Memphis just about every year for Elvis Week and his birthday celebration. And she's a very nice lady as well. I was so excited to meet this lady. Again, this is one of Elvis's girlfriends, many girlfriends, but it was probably one of his closest women in his life, Linda Thompson. And she is so very nice and so very gracious, and it was such a pleasure meeting her. And then I also met her brother, Sam Thompson, who was Elvis's bodyguard. Another thing about Linda is that she was married to Bruce Jenner, who is now Caitlyn Jenner, and she has out a book called A Little Thing Called Life. So if you can pick it up, I highly recommend it. It is a great book. She goes into detail about her relationship with Elvis and with Bruce. This guy is really cool. His name is Terry Mike Jeffrey, and he's kind of like a tribute artist. He doesn't imitate Elvis, but he does shows and he sings Elvis's music, and he's a great entertainer. And he's such a good guy. He's so nice. He always remembers me and calls me out by name, and he always sings my favorite songs that I request when he does his shows. And this is him in 1969 meeting Elvis when he was a teenager. This is Kane Reed. He was one of Elvis's karate instructors. And as you can see, he has awesome writing. And this is a replica of the badge that Elvis is wearing on his karate gi. This is Marion Cock. And yes, that is her name, folks. She was one of Elvis's primary nurses, and she's pretty up there in age. I think she's in her 90s now, but she's still getting around. She was just at Elvis Week this year, I mean. So she's still out there and talking about Elvis. And this is the guy that I mentioned who just died the other day, and this is very sad because he was just at Elvis Week and spoke about Elvis with his wife Elizabeth. His name is Rex Manfield. He was in the Army with Elvis, and him and his wife Elizabeth wrote a book about their experience with Elvis in Germany. Elizabeth was his secretary in Germany, and Rex and Elizabeth fell in love and got married, but they wrote about their experience with Elvis. And this is a photo of Elizabeth with Elvis. This is the book that I just got when they were in Memphis. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, sadly, they were just in Memphis for Elvis Week, as you can see from the date. And he just died a couple days ago. So rest in peace, Rex. These are the Holiday Sisters. They were backup singers for Elvis on songs like Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto and Don't Cry Daddy. This is a famous photo from a photographer named Alfred Wertheimer. He took some of the most famous photos of Elvis ever taken in the 1950s. And this is one of those photos that I had him sign. Unfortunately, he died a couple years ago as well. Another photo of James Burton. Besides Elvis, James played with people like Ricky Nelson and Neil Diamond and countless others, but of course he was most famous for playing with Elvis. And I got him to sign this photo for me because I love Ricky Nelson as well. And this is just another photo that I got from Jimmy Velvet from his collection. I really loved this photo, so he signed it for me. And that's Jimmy in the background. Many of you might not know that Elvis had 3 stepbrothers. When Elvis's mom died, his dad married Dee Stanley, and he inherited 3 stepbrothers. David, Billy, and, I can't think of the other guy's name. But they're the Stanley brothers, and Billy signed this one for me. Hopefully I can get the other guys to sign it as well. Oh, it's David, Billy, and Ricky, I just remembered. This is just some artwork of kind of a well-known artist that does Elvis paintings. His name is Joe Patricio. You should check out his artwork, it's really awesome. And he signed it and drew a little picture for me. And then of course you have the Elvis impersonators. Most people think that the Elvis impersonators are cheesy and fat and horrible, but there are a lot of really good ones and really good looking ones, folks. As you can see, this is Ryan Pelton, who is one of them. And then Dean Z, he's amazing. Not only does he do Elvis, but he also does Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers, and he can even do a little Michael Jackson. But he's a great guy and he's a great performer. Cody Slaughter. Cody has an amazing resemblance to Elvis, and he also can move just like Elvis too. And then a lot of people may recognize Sean Clush. He's probably one of the most famous Elvis impersonators out there. And this is a friend of mine. His name is Jamie Aaron Kelly. He used to impersonate Elvis. He doesn't anymore. He just kind of pays tribute to him. But he's become a really good friend of mine. He's such a great Elvis fan. And a lady who did artwork of Elvis also painted this picture of him. So I had her sell it to me, and he signed a great message to me too on it. And this lady is very special to me. Her name is Sandy Pigeon. I know you can't really see her face because she's kissing Elvis in the photo, but as I said in the beginning of my video, I've also met many fans who were able to get close to Elvis and hang out with him, and this was one of those ladies who had so many experiences meeting Elvis and being around him and kissing him, obviously, as you can see by this photo. Unfortunately, Sandy is very, very sick right now, but she has always been a good friend of mine, and I'm proud to call her my friend. And because I have such a connection to her, it almost makes me feel like I have a connection to Elvis in a way. So I'm still praying for Sandy that she gets through what she's going through. This is Wink Martindale. Many of you might know him from a lot of famous game shows, but he was also great friends with Elvis. And he did a TV show and recorded it in the 50s where he interviewed Elvis. And this is one of the many Elvis impersonators. His name is Kayvon. And this is Dr. Nick. Dr. Nick was Elvis's primary doctor. And he's the one that took a lot of the flack for overprescribing Elvis a lot of his drugs. However, there are people that believe there was another doctor that was mainly responsible for that. And then this is Dean Nicopolis, who is his son and was a bodyguard for Elvis. And I've met him quite a few times, but I haven't been able to get him to sign this yet. Hopefully I will be able to eventually. And then these are just like homemade sheets that I made to get autographs on. The cool thing about this is that the whole TCB band is on it. James Burton on guitar, Glenn Hardin on piano, Jerry Schiff on bass, and Ronnie Tutt on drums. And then Cynthia Pepper signed it for me, and DJ Fontana again. Larry Geller, who was Elvis's hairdresser and many say his spiritual advisor. And Darlene Tompkins. signed by Blue Hawaii. And then you have members of the Imperials, Joe Mosqueo, who I said that I met before, Jimmy Velvet, Sonny West, Mike Stoller, who wrote Jailhouse Rock and Hound Dog and so many other great Elvis songs, Dixie Locke, who was one of Elvis's girlfriends, Ray Walker of the Jordanaires, Jerry Schilling, Memphis Mafia, Marion Cock, Elvis's nurse, George Klein, Joe Gershow, again Elizabeth and Rex Mansfield, Rex, whom I said just died the other day, Estelle Brown, one of the Sweet Inspirations, Bill Bays, Jim Murray, Anita Wood and her daughter, who was Elvis's girlfriend, Donnie Sumner. And this is probably one of my favorite pages that I made. I decorated it with movie posters, Elvis movie posters, and had people from Elvis's movie sign it. Julie Adams was in Tickle Me. Celeste Darnell was in Live a Little, Love a Little. Teddy and Eddie from Follow That Dream. Laurel Goodman from Girls, Girls, Girls. Marlon Mason from The Trouble with Girls. Pat Priest from Easy Come, Easy Go. She was also Marilyn Munster. These guys were in Spin Out. Easy Come, Easy Go, a gentleman from that. Larry Doe Mason from Fun in Acapulco. And then this past Elvis week, I got this one from Michael Dante, who was in Kid Galahad with Elvis. And Jenny Chu, who was one of the girls in Girls, Girls, Girls. And I also started another page and had them all sign it. And then Michael Dante. And then this is Millie Perkins, who was in Wild in the Country with Elvis. And then probably my most prized ones are this one, which is Priscilla Presley. I'm very lucky that I got this autograph. She does not sign things very often anymore, so it was very fortunate that I met her and got her to sign this photo for me. And then the last one is my first time that I met Lisa Marie Presley. And I got this great photo with her. And she signed one of her albums for me. This was an awesome day. And a great photo I got. So that's about it, folks. I hope that it wasn't too boring for you and that you enjoyed it. Seeing some of my autographs and hearing some of my stories about all these wonderful people that I met. So until next time, I'm signing off.